What's up, guys? We are back with another episode of Let's Talk Snowboarding, presented by Mountain Vibes. And today we have a special guest co-host in the booth, our boy Lucas Foster, joining us from Austria. How's it going, Lucas?
Good. Yeah, stoked to be back on. Thanks for having me.
We're stoked to have you, and our special guest, the lady of the hour, half-pipe rider, valedictorian of her class, just graduated last spring. Just got back from Hawaii doing a little surf trip with parents. We have Kaylie Neal in the booth. Kaylie, how is it going?
It's going great. Thank you so much for having me today.
Of course. Yeah. And Lucas, you Mount Hood is special to you. You've been there training for years and years and years. So let's just kind of talk about if you guys have ever crossed paths, seen each other in the pipe, and what it's like to train up in the summers at Mount Hood.
Yeah, for sure. No, Dylan was telling me Chris is your coach, and so I definitely have seen you up there a bunch. And yeah, Hood's definitely like kind of one of the main hubs in the summer, or the main hub for sure, and for half pipe. So that you kind of see everyone there. It's like these days there's not a ton of half pipe riders. It's a small group of pros and up and comers and groms, so like everyone's kind of training in the same spots. So Hood's like a good place where we all see each other, like during the comp season everyone's kind of spread out at different events, and but Hood, you're seeing all the kids coming up, and it's like the coolest vibe up there for sure. Really amazing weather, and great place to just like explore your riding. So I love it up there. It's always fun to go back.
For sure. And Kaylie, let's talk about kind of how what your experience has been up at Hood. When did you first start riding up at Hood?
So the first time I ever came to Hood was this summer. I was 8 years old, I believe. I came up here with a previous coach when I was living back on the East Coast, and we decided to come out just to feel out how Hood was and see if it was somewhere we were wanting to move in the future. And it ended up being a really good trip, and that's what we decided in the end. And since then, I've been living here and training here every year and every summer.
Excellent. So Lucas, I was gonna kind of just kind of let you talk to Kaylie about coming up as a grom. You both came up through Kaylie, you came up through Rev Tour, is that correct?
I did, yes. I started out in USASA and regionals and nationals and stuff like that, and then moved on to Futures Tour and then Rev Tour, which I'm in currently still, and then also Grand Prix.
Nice. And Lucas, was that kind of your same path in the half pipe?
Yeah, totally. USASA, Rev Tour, and then the Grand Prix and World Cups and stuff.
Excellent, guys. So yeah, Lucas, did you have any questions or anything you wanted to talk to Kaylie about while we have you?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you're like the generation below me, how old are you?
18.
18, yeah, so I'm 24, and so we're not too far apart, but it's definitely like changed a lot since I was 18, and 18 was like when I really was like, I think that was the last year I was not on like the US rookie team, and curious like your perspective just on like the vibes up there these days, like in Rev Tours, like among all of the younger kids coming up. Like I personally think it's way different, like in a lot of great ways, and not good or bad ways. But what do you think of like the current half pipe scene in general?
I love it, honestly, especially up at Rev Tours. A lot of the people there, a lot of the girls there, right around my same age, and we all get along really well. And there's a lot of camaraderie up there. Whenever we're standing at the top waiting for practice or waiting for the event to start, everyone's kind of joking around and laughing, and we all get along really well, and it's really nice because we're lifting each other up, and I feel like we definitely distract each other from the fact that we're about to have to compete. Like when we're stressed out, it's really nice just being around everyone and just being able to chill out around each other.
Yeah, for sure. Is it pretty like competitive these days still with like, I remember when I was in Rev Tours, it was like we all kind of knew that it was like these events were what were, if you did well at a couple of these, you were going to, graduate and basically be in the pro events for hopefully the rest of your career. Like I remember it was very intense and it was like pretty heated at times, like especially when like I remember we had a couple really big pros come do the Rev Tours just to like get fist points. Do you guys still have like some heavy hitters come through here and there? And do you ever feel that like heavy pressure vibe where you're like, okay, if I lace this run, I could make the rookie team or, go to junior worlds? Or is it pretty like mellow? I hope it mellowed out because it used to be pretty heavy.
I think it's kind of on an individual basis. I definitely get really stressed out about things like that, and it gets very serious in my head. I know there's some girls I compete against that are a lot better at being chill about that and just kind of having fun in the moment. But for me personally, it gets very stressful and very intense, and I'm constantly thinking about how my performance is going to affect my future in the sport. And definitely my first ever year in Rev Tour was the heaviest year I've been in. It was full. I think about half of our field was pros and a couple ex-Olympians, and it was a very big event. It kind of felt like a World Cup in that sense because of some of the people that showed up, and it was a lot of pressure, but that I think helped me a little bit going into the next few years because the level of competition chilled out a bit when the pros weren't coming back for points. But it's like I said, I think it's just on an individual basis with how competitive each certain person is at those events.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I remember the same exact thing. Like going into the Olympic season, you'd see, I remember one of the Olympic gold medalists from the prior Olympics did the Rev Tour, and we were just like, what is this guy doing? Like, are you kidding me? So it was, and the Rev Tours are, I'd say, arguably just as heavy as World Cups sometimes. Like the level of riding is super, super high. So it's cool to see you guys crushing it. And then who are like some of your favorite current half pipe riders? Like who's guys and girls, like who's stoking you out the most? Because I remember when I was coming up, I was watching guys like Taylor Gold and Chase Josie and Jake Pates, and they were like kind of the guys owning everything. And then Chloe has always been the goat of all goats, and I mean there's so many good riders. Who are like or like your generation, who are you guys stoked on right now?
For me personally, Maddie Mastro. That's like my all-time favorite snowboarder in the world. I absolutely love her style.
Nice.
Everything.
Yeah, Maddie's.
Yeah, she's a big idol for me. And then I also love, which this one's my generation, but Sunny Alba. I've been friends with her for years since we were little doing USASA together, and I've always just loved the way she rode. It's a big idol for me too. And then on the guys' side, you actually are one of them. And then Levko, which again, my generation. And even though he's not competing anymore, Toby Miller was always a really big one for me growing up.
Yeah, Toby rode with Chris a lot when he was younger, so I can see that. And then yeah, like Maddie for sure. She's out of all the girls, I think she's got some of the best unique style. And then Sunny, yeah, like I've ridden a lot with Sunny this year since she's on the pro team for the US team now, and she's been like just crushing it. So yeah, that's super cool. And do you like
That's all. Yeah.
go ahead, Dylan?
Oh yeah. I just wanted to say, like, when you mentioned Maddie, that's my favorite. Not just half pipe rider, just like in general, like the vibe that Maddie puts out there every single time. I just love how intense she gets, and when she put down the double crippler that run, she finally got it, because she had fallen so many times on
Yeah,
that run and it just never linked up. But that double crippler, dude, like that was so sick to see. Because no one on the female side had really had that in their arsenal. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
that's
yeah. No,
sick to
no
hear.
one. Yeah, still no one really on the girls' side is doing doubles like regularly. I think she's still. I mean, there's a couple girls that maybe have done it. I mean, I know Chloe did one like a long time ago, and then I don't know. Other than that, like Maddie's the only one still that's like consistently doing them. I'm sure we'll see more maybe in the next year or two, but we'll see. I mean, I think we also said that a couple years ago going into Beijing, and still none of the girls really. I mean, I might be missing one, but I think Maddie's the only one. So yeah,
Yep.
I think the women's snowboard scene right now is like I'm kind of like giving it all to the girls. Like they are the ones carrying snowboarding right now. I think, like just the where it's at with like this level of riding that the girls are displaying. Like it's in that perfect spot where it's like technical, but still a style, and they all are. I mean, the girls are. You could tell watching them compete. They're all so hyped for each other, which just puts a good example out there for everyone. So props to you guys for keeping it real. And yeah, it's we we need the girls right now big time.
Are you going to be going out to Europe soon for like kind of like the half pipe camps out there? Or?
Yeah, so that's still undecided for me. I'd like to be going out to Sauce Fe in October. That was the plan leading up to this season, but I'm having some difficulties nailing down my winter season plans, and that's kind of affecting what my fall season plans are going to be. So hopefully
Okay.
I'll know in the next few weeks whether I'm actually going to get to go out there or not.
Nice. All right, cool. Well, first things first, let's get into your summer, okay, valedictorian.
Yeah.
What's it been like since you graduated high school? Because we all know, like, younger Kaylee now, you're done with high school, you're done with school. What was it kind of like for you balancing your school and your snowboarding throughout your high school years?
It was definitely a lot, especially because I have notoriously throughout my childhood been very high performing in school, and that was something instilled in me from an early age to be really important. So, my parents always told me growing up that if my grades fell, then I was no longer going to be able to snowboard. So I always kept up with that, and especially in high school, once I was getting into rev tours and I was traveling a lot more, it got a little difficult at points, but I kept a pretty tight schedule. I had a lot of like written out calendars and plans for doing work ahead of time, and being in contact with my teachers, letting them know that I'd be out in Colorado or California for an event and I wouldn't be able to necessarily do school while I was there, and I would just work ahead so that I could have the time to train while I was there. And my school was really great about all that. They worked really well with me, and they were perfectly fine as long as I got all of my work for the semester done by the semester's end date. Then it didn't really matter what order I did it in, what classes I did, and what days I did what work, as long as I was getting it done by the end. So I just kind of did that throughout high school and made plans for myself and kept a really tight and really well known schedule so that I could make sure to balance everything out.
Yeah, that's cool to hear. It's nice to hear that like communication was key with your teachers,
Mhm.
and they kind of knew that you get your stuff done, and the proof is in the pudding. Like valedictorian, that's a big deal. And were you doing a lot of you're competitive snowboarder, so were you doing a lot of stuff, especially like when COVID hit? Did you do a lot of schoolwork from home?
Yeah, so I've actually been in online school since the second semester of fourth grade, all for snowboarding. We pulled me out so that I would have more time to train and be able to work on my own schedule. So ever since then, it's all been school on my computer at home. When I was younger, I used to do it in the living room with my mom so she could help me out if I needed it because I was still pretty young and just trying to learn how to navigate work online on my own was a lot. But once I got older, just up in my room whenever I could, just grinding away at the computer.
Nice. What was the school that you achieved that valedictorian status from?
Oregon Connections Academy.
Okay, cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you guys had a whole in-person ceremony and stuff.
Mhm.
So, you did school from home, but did you meet a lot of friends through online school and actually get to meet them in person and stuff like that?
So that was a funny thing because my school had live lessons throughout the year where the teacher would teach through a Zoom call, and they were all optional because we had lessons already planned out for us that we would read through on our own. So if you felt like you needed extra help or wanted to be in a setting with your other classmates, then you could do those. Because of my schedule, a lot of the times I'd be on the mountain when those were happening, and I never really did them, nor did I feel like I needed them because I could get ahead on my own. And if I was ahead, then what they were teaching in the live lessons wouldn't work out for me. So I never really was in contact with any of my classmates, and I actually made a joke about that in my valedictorian speech with us not knowing each other and meeting for the very first time at the ceremony, but it was honestly just graduating with a group of strangers for me. I didn't know the names of a single person there.
Yeah. Yeah, you made your friends through Mount Hood is what I'm
Yeah,
guessing is, yeah.
all of my all of my friends have been a few from Sandy High School, the local high school where I live, and then just other people who snowboard.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of that, Kaylee, I know that your mom and your dad, are they both from Georgia?
Yeah, all three of us are. We were all born there. They lived there for about 30 years. I lived there for 7, and then we all moved out to North Carolina, partially for my mom's college and partially for a little bit better training for me, because that was around the age when I started getting into national level events and needed to get a little more serious. And then we lived there for 3 years, and then after that was when we all decided to make the move out here.
Nice, nice. And so the culture shock. Let's talk about, you're in, Georgia, and those East Coast mountains are a little bit different than coming out to Mama Hood and seeing that for the first time. Was the whole driving force for your parents and you to be at Hood because they knew that you could train, gosh, I don't know, 10 to 11 months out of the year
Mhm.
is how many months you can train and stuff. And what was it like? And did you guys move immediately to your place in Sandy?
Yeah, so we definitely moved out here with the intention of being able to train close to year round. We actually moved to a house we were renting for a few years before we decided to finally buy a place, and that's where we live now, all in the same town. But yeah, we moved out here for that when I was actually more heavily into slopestyle at the time, and Timberline had really good terrain for slopestyle training. Um, and that was the whole idea, was that I would be able to train slopestyle year round. And then I made the decision a few years back when I was about 13 or 14 that I wanted to do solely half pipe. It's what I always loved to do in the beginning of my career, and I just didn't really have the resources or the coaching to be able to do that full time, and then finally got that. So I made the decision to swap to half pipe, and now that's not the greatest thing for me because I only have a half pipe here in the summer and I have to train elsewhere during the winter. But yeah, that's pretty much how all that happened.
Yeah, for sure. So talk about let's kind of go back a little bit. Let's get back to your summer. Okay, so um, what was your summer like after you graduated? Were you training up at Hood this entire summer? Were you up on the glacier in the pipe every single day?
Yeah, for the most part. So I actually graduated back in December, a semester early, and spent the winter season fully training. And then, yeah, once summer hit, I was up there 6 days a week from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., I believe. Every day training. And then after the pipe close, which was a 4 week long camp for pipe, after that ended, I went up a few days extra with my coach to work on flat ground training and stuff like that. And then about, I think, a little ways into August was when the mountain closed and training was done for the season.
Yeah. And are you still working with Chris?
I am, yes.
Oh, that's so cool to hear. Love Chris. Love Chris Hargraves. Unfortunately, I think Chris is busy today because we would have loved to have him on co-hosting, but I think we did well with our other guest co-hosts, so it's really cool.
So, yeah.
Yeah. That was cool to hear that Lucas is one of your favorites because I didn't know that. He's definitely one of my favorite snowboarders. Just such a chill guy and so gracious with his time and stuff. So, but yeah, let's talk a little bit about after training was done for the summer up at Hood. Yeah, it was time for a little trip for some warm weather. Even though you've been in warm weather, but some tropics. How was the trip to Hawaii? I saw you out on the surfboard. Was that your first time ever surfing?
It was not actually. I started surfing when I was 3, so before I started snowboarding.
Okay.
But I haven't done it in about 10 years because I did it when I lived on the East Coast, and I'm not a big, honestly, I hate the cold. I'm not a big cold person, so I have not yet ventured out to the Oregon coast to try surfing in cold water, so haven't surfed in a really long time, but got back into it, and it all actually, I picked back up on it really fast, and now I've kind of got the surf stoke again, but the whole trip to Hawaii was really great. We haven't had a good beach vacation in quite a few years, and it was a nice, little relaxer from all the snowboarding and all the cold.
Yeah, definitely. Which island were you guys on?
We were on Oahu.
Nice. Excellent. And were you guys like Waikiki Beach surfing?
Yeah, actually.
Okay.
We were on Waikiki Beach, and we got a rental car for a couple days to drive up to the North Shore and see where some of the more heavy surfing usually happens in the wintertime and all of that. But where we were actually surfing was on Waikiki Beach.
Yeah. Let's discuss the similarities and differences, because I've heard that that snowboarders, when they try to get on the surfboard, it's just it's like nothing. It's like you have no bearing. Like it's super, super hard still. Talk about what your experience is with surfing, and is it way harder than snowboarding for you? Like what's it kind of like out there in the waves?
It's definitely a different experience. Honestly, the hardest part is just paddling out into the lineup and timing it so you get a wave and don't get flipped over before you can even stand up. But for me, the standing up part, I've done a lot of wakeboarding and stuff like that, or wake surfing and stuff like that this summer, and did some skateboarding growing up. And I think because I've done a lot of surfing in the past, it really wasn't too much of a challenge for me. I'd say it's a lot more of a back-footed sport than snowboarding. You're using your back leg a lot to move the board around. But all in all, it wasn't really too difficult or too much of a change for me, I felt like.
Nice. You mentioned wake surfing. Where do you guys go to wake surf?
So my best friend and her family actually just bought a boat this past year, and we've been going out. Not exactly sure where. It's some lake that's pretty close to where I live. There's no service, so I've never really checked where we are when it's happening. But yeah, we just go out occasionally on the back of their boat, and they have wakeboard and some wake surfing stuff, and we do that with them.
Nice. That's awesome. And let's talk about your parents. Shout out Joey and Miranda. Right?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
when I first started my journey as an instructor, two of the first people that I met were your parents up at Timberline, and they were just so chill, so cool. What's it been like? You know, they obviously, you know, support you in like your dreams and have made things happen, and you know, done a lot for you. Let's just talk about the parents and what's it like having a couple like snowboard bumps as parents? Is it super cool and they still keep you in line and stuff like that, as far as you said with like the grades and stuff? So that's awesome to hear.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really great. They've been amazing my entire life supporting this dream, and they've always told me that they'll support me in anything I do. If one day I wake up and decide snowboarding's not what I want anymore, then that's fine. We'll move on to the next thing, and it's been really great. They've always been super supportive and doing anything they can to get me to any training that I possibly could get to, and constantly just working and traveling with me, and it's been really amazing. We kind of have been on this journey together because my parents had snowboarded a total of one time before they decided to teach me how to snowboard. So it's been a learning process together. And once I started picking it up, I kind of surpassed their level. And that's when I got actual snowboard coaches. But they've really just been amazing this whole time.
Yeah, that's awesome. You know, I remember, I can't remember the first time that I met you, but I think it was just like a nasty rainy day, and you
Oh,
were chilling in the hallway where we all if you know the hallway, you know, by the water fountains, that's where
yeah.
the instructors chill when it's crappy out. And yeah, and it was cool to like kind of like know your journey. You know, Chris has always talked about you and Toby and how he met Toby Miller, and how he now coaches you, and that was super cool here. And let's talk a little bit about the ski school vibes, because you know, you're always hanging around, you know, ski school and stuff. Who's been some of like your favorite people that you've met up at the Timberline Ski School? I know mine are Steve Muse, Mike Jennings, Tracy. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's those are my boys for from now until the end of time. But like, who's been some of like who's had like the most, like some of the biggest impact on you as far as like instructors go up there at Timberline?
Yeah, so I've definitely spent a lot of time around them, especially with my parents instructing and all of that. And we used to, years prior, we used to go out together as a group, me and some of the instructors, whenever nobody would get a lesson and they just wanted to go ride before the afternoon lineup. And I got to ride and spend a lot of time with instructors through that. And definitely the ones you said, Steve, Mike, Tracy, they're all really great. But I definitely made specific friendships with Julian and Chris Levitt. I don't know if you
Yep,
know both of
of
them, but
course.
yeah, Chris actually lives out in Colorado now, so I don't really get to see him anymore,
I
unfortunately. But
know.
we always bonded a lot over snowboarding, and we liked to ride a lot together. And he was definitely fun to go out with because he would be pushing me and all of that. And then Julian's just a really good family friend. He's a skier. But we always give him a bunch of crap about being a skier and not a snowboarder because he used to snowboard and then he migrated into skiing and left snowboarding behind. Like, I think recently he sold his snowboard, and we're like, why would you
Oh,
move to the dark side? It's so sad. But
you mono ski guy.
yeah, the mono ski. He's always on the mono ski now. But I think those two definitely have been a big impact for me, just getting to go out with them and all different conditions. We go ride powder together and park and all of that. And it's really nice, really fun.
Yeah, yeah. And when you mentioned both those guys, like I remember Chris was probably like the top instructor slash Steve's right hand when
Yeah.
I first got to the ski school, and then Julian, I believe, gosh, I believe it was like maybe a season or two after I started working there that
Mhm.
Julian showed up,
Yeah.
and he was, staying. Man, I've had some really good times with Julian and
Yeah.
Carissa and David.
Love
Um,
them.
yeah, staying at the Scummets or staying down at the RV that Julian was staying in for a little
Yeah.
bit,
Oh,
parked down
with
there.
Tristan.
Yeah, that's right. I think I had like a span of like a week. I just did back-to-back days after I had moved up here to North Idaho because I was just still like, I just still had that urge to be like, oh, I still want to go back and work for Steve as much as I can and still
Mhm.
fill my days. So I drove all the way up here for like 5 to 7 days. I would do spans of like 5 to 7 days and go work down there for a couple seasons actually after I moved up here.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, just the homies up there were just
Mhm.
so kind and gracious. Still talk to all those people like regularly, like Mike and now getting to talk to you is super cool, like the future generation, and
Yeah.
like getting to see you like come up through everything that you've done and being super fucking successful at everything that you're doing, and it's just like so cool to see. It's like, oh dude, I like when Kaylee throws down a run or something like that, I'm like, I know her. Like, don't get it mixed, dude. Like, I remember her like hanging out in the freaking hallway back in the day, like just chatting about snowboarding, and
Mhm.
the Hargraves boys and Wyatt and all those guys. They've
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's just, yeah. So like speaking on that, like we all know, like those who are at Mount Hood and spend time at Mount Hood, especially at Timberline and stuff like that, it's really does hold a special place in our heart. It's kind of like it's part of us. It's never going to leave us or anything like that. So
Yeah.
let's kind of talk a little bit more about Hood and what it means to you, and how special it was for you to like grow up where you did around the mountain, and be around that culture. Was it, and how it kind of impacted like how much love you have for the sport and what you're doing now?
Yeah. Timberline definitely was always an amazing place for me from the season that I moved here. It was always really good. I loved all the people. Everyone was really kind and really accepting of me because, like I said, I was like 8 years old the first summer I came out here, and then 9 the first season I was here. So I was just this little grom around all these like 20-year-old instructors and other people on the mountain, and they all accepted me in really well and were really great to me. And it's always definitely a worry when you get into a sport like this that some of the older people are going to be kind of rude and pushing you out just because you're younger and they don't really want that there. But everyone at Timberline was always really amazing, and it was really great just having the opportunity to grow up the way I did in online school and training as much as possible. And when I was training for slopestyle, Timberline and Mount Hood in general was just a really great place for me to be at, and had so much good terrain for me to really hone in on.
Yeah, let's talk about what's your favorite. I have my favorite park, and it's a very specific park that they build once every season. What's your favorite like terrain park up at Timberline?
Hmm. I definitely have to say Blossom for me
Okay.
because I mean technically maybe like the FTC pipe because that's what I compete in now is pipe, but during the normal season probably Blossom because fun fact, I despise rails. That is my least favorite part of snowboarding altogether, and Blossom is our one park that's only jumps and no rails.
Yep, that's good to hear. I don't fuck with steel that much. It's just like,
Mm-mm.
no thanks, dude.
I
Something
always
like,
say I don't like moving fast toward a stagnant metal object.
yeah, and it's for some people, the Jeremy Jones of the world, and
Yeah.
those guys, but they love the steel. But I'm just like, I'm a jumper. I just want to jump
Mhm.
off snow build, and that's why my personal favorite is the flow park. and especially when the flow park goes into the mini pipe, you know, like when
Yeah.
we have enough snow for that. That's always
Mhm.
sick.
Yeah, that is really sick because I've always loved being in the air and transitional style riding, and flow park is obviously all of that. And the years that they've done it with a half pipe in it, that I do forget about that sometimes because, especially in the last couple years, I've ended up being elsewhere, either Colorado or down in Mammoth for training while the flow park is open. So I haven't really
Yeah.
had an opportunity to be in it recently, but it is a really good place.
Yeah. And so you mentioned traveling in those times where you kind of wish you were back at Mount Hood, maybe. Let's talk about some of the trips that you've taken. So is it usually that when you were growing up, is it your mom that was taking you out on those trips? Because I know what your dad does for a living, and it's super commendable. ER nurse, just a great thing. But was your dad able to come out for a handful of trips when you were growing up? And was it all of you, or was it mainly like you and your mom pretty much going down to Colorado and Mammoth a lot together?
I would definitely say for the most part it's been me and my mom. When I was younger and living on the East Coast and still doing USASA, it would typically be all three of us going on a road trip to whatever East Coast mountain the USASA comp was at that weekend. But as I've gotten older and had to start traveling further, it's been a lot of me and my mom going out to Colorado together and my dad coming out when he can for competitions. Competitions has always been a big thing for both of them. They like to be there for every single one of my events, which is really great. And this past season, was a bit of a different experience for us. With me graduating high school going into the season and knowing that I was going to need to be traveling a bit more and have more training opportunities, I actually spent the season living with a coach in Colorado. He had just started a new team for himself and had gotten a house where he could house some of his athletes throughout the season, which was a really cool experience and opportunity. And I did that for the season. So I spent pretty much the entire winter and spring season away from my family. And the one competition they got to be out for was the Mammoth Grand Prix. And they actually changed the dates of the Mammoth Grand Prix while we were there for weather. So my mom drove to Mammoth with me. And then my dad was supposed to fly out the day before the event, and they changed the event to make it a day prior, and he missed it because of that. So he didn't actually get to see me compete at anything. But yeah, growing up, it was definitely a lot of just kind of back and forth, mostly my mom, but some of my dad coming out with me. And now that I'm getting older, it's a lot more of just me traveling alone.
Well, he missed the event, but did you guys get to at least take some laps together once he did get down there?
He did not have an icon pass this year, unfortunately, so we did not get to do that. But he got to see me train a little bit in the pipe because I had a rev tour right after that Grand Prix, which ended up getting canceled due to the snowstorm that was there. So he got to see me train a little bit, but we didn't get to ride together except for one day this season at Meadows. One of his colleagues had given him like a day Meadows pass, so we went over there together. But yeah, other than that, I did not get to.
All right, maybe this season would be
Yeah,
nice.
I hope so.
Is he still doing night shifts? Because the last time,
Mm-hmm.
wow, jeez,
Yeah.
man, it's crazy. It's just
Mm-hmm.
my wife is she's like a heart surgery OR nurse,
Oh wow.
cardiovascular OR nurse. So when I found out what your dad did, I was
Mm-hmm.
like, dang, that's just so cool. And I just have so much respect for like nurses and
Yeah.
everything that they do. And it's always about the patient. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is what I respect about them. But yeah, let's talk about so the differences of, you recently turned 18.
Yeah.
And so now you're kind of like is it a big difference where like now you're going to be like going on your own, it's on Kaylie to do all this stuff, the parents aren't going to be around as much? What kind of freedoms have you experienced since you know turned 18, and what's it like? Is it just like, oh, this is awesome, don't have to go to school anymore, and I can focus on snowboarding and
Yeah.
kind of live?
It's definitely nice not having the stressor of school on me anymore, especially while I'm trying to train. That was definitely a lot to balance, as we talked about before. I still live at home, and my parents are still fully supporting my snowboarding. I am working on doing some stuff to earn some extra money during my off season while I'm here, so that I can help pay some of the expenses for the season. But for the most part, the deal kind of is that for the next year or two, as long as I'm putting everything that I possibly can into the sport, working on hill and off hill, doing workouts in the gym, and obviously training on snow, and focusing on nutrition and all of that, doing all the pieces that go into it. As long as I'm really working for all of that, then they're willing to continue to support me to try to make the rookie team within the next couple years. And then since I need to be gone from Oregon more than I used to have to be, it's definitely going to be a lot of me traveling alone. And I probably will be driving myself to Colorado or California, and possibly getting a place on my own to stay in the future while the winter season is happening.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds very similar to a path of a local snowboarder up here. She's going through the free ride route, and also maybe looking into some backcountry filming and stuff. But her name's Emma Hall. I don't know if you've ever heard of her.
I have heard of her, yeah, because of Dirks and Derby.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so the Hall sisters up here, badasses.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and just got to sit down with her a couple weeks ago and chat up here, and her episode will be coming out soon. But yeah, she was saying the same thing. She was just like, oh, I just got so stoked when she moved down to Truckee
Mm-hmm.
for the season and joined a local snowboard club down there. And so she was talking about, and then she was also speaking on, you know, in the summer now, she actually was up at Solstice at Illumination Rock and sent that kicker and
Oh,
actually
yeah.
broke one of her vertebrae in her back. So
Oh, no.
she's been on the mend all summer. And I was like, well, what are you doing? She's like, I'm just working as much as I can at a Mexican restaurant in Sandpoint so that I can stack
Yeah.
money and go back down to Truckee and just not have to worry about money or anything. So let's talk about like, what are some of the things that you're doing to, you know, fund the snowboard season this year?
Yeah, so actually yesterday I put out a flyer on a local Facebook group for babysitting and got some hits on that. So I'm going to start
Nice.
doing some pretty frequent babysitting jobs to earn a little extra money. And then I'm currently looking into seeing if I can find any work online that I can continue throughout the season.
Okay.
Prior to this year, my parents have been um, asking me to not get a job so that I could focus really heavily on snowboarding in school, since that already was taking up a lot of my time, and they didn't really want me to put too much on my plate than more than I could handle. So now that I don't have school anymore, I'm definitely looking into getting into some work, and then not exactly sure 100% what I'm going to end up doing, but hopefully I can find something online to continue throughout the season, because I want to be able to help out as much as I possibly can with all of
Yeah.
this.
Well, that's good. That's definitely good. Too bad, you're not up here in my town because have two toddlers right now. My daughter's 3 and my son is turning 2 in October.
Oh,
And my wife and I have not had a date night in
oh,
almost 3 years. And we're like, we need a babysitter, but it's like we just can't find anybody up here. So,
oh
but yeah,
no.
that's cool. Babysitting is definitely a great way to make a little bit of extra cash, and when you find those families that treat you well and stuff, that's pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
So for the listeners, that have been listening to this podcast for a while, I mention Steve Muse often. I would like to hear your favorite like Steve Muse story of him just being the wild man that he is.
Okay, I've got a great one.
Okay.
So, there was, I forget how long ago it was a few years back. He was free riding, I think, in between lineups for lessons, and he went to OB West and was riding out there and riding some trees, and he hit a tree with his leg while he was out there, and he like got down to the bottom and he like rolls up his pant leg and his entire leg is like gashed open. And he was like, I didn't even realize it that much. I just noticed blood was on my pants. And then he comes in, he's like showing everybody the pictures and everything. And we're all like, it's like, it was a huge gash on his thigh. And we're like, how did you not like feel that? He was like, yeah, I just saw the blood. It didn't hurt. And I was just like, you're crazy. I think he might have kept riding a little bit after that. It's just, that's one of my favorite stories because I'm like, I don't know how something that bad happens and you're just like, oh, okay.
That's for anyone who's ever met him, that's classic Steve Muse right there. It's just like just keeps on moving. And yeah, I have a few fond memories of Steve like just acting like, I don't know. He's a big metalhead, so of course
Yeah.
it's always fun if you ever get a ride from Steve up to the mountain and you're just like in there and he's playing like this Viking heavy metal stuff and just like trying to run people off the road and stuff. It's just hilarious, dude. But yeah, that's very cool to hear. But yeah, you know, speaking of like Steve Muse, Mike Jennings, Mike Jennings, like I don't know if you know what he's been doing lately, but gosh, just so cool that he's like living out his dream, being a Paralympic coach and doing that stuff. But yeah, let's talk a little bit more about like the scene for you. You know, we've talked about Rev Tour and everything like that. You know, Luke has kind of asked you a few questions about that. What's been some of your coolest experiences like coming up through, you know, Rev Tour and the Grand Prix and stuff? Like, is there ever been a few moments in your career so far where you're just like kind of like starstruck and you're just like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm like here with like these people and stuff?
Yeah, definitely. I haven't had too much of that with Rev Tour. Rev Tour was more of like it felt like my scene when I got into it. But definitely these past 2 seasons being in Grand Prix, I've been a bit starstruck at those. Just competing with so many people that I've looked up to my entire life. The first Grand Prix I did, I dropped right behind Shu Tong Sai. And it was honestly really funny in my head because she goes down and she does this like absolutely incredible out of this world run. I think if I'm remembering correctly, she might have podiumed at that event, and she just does this absolutely insane run, and then I'm right behind her to follow it up, and nothing I could do at the moment could even come close to comparing to that. So it's just like the highest level of people that's there, and then right after like the lowest. But just being there, like walking around the whole time, I'm just like right next to all these girls that I've seen on my TV like for years and years and years, and it really felt incredible. And then most recently, the last Grand Prix I did back in February, I got to compete against Chloe Kim for the first time. And then, of course, Maddie Mastro. This might seem a little like crazy-ish, but there's a picture in my room actually of me sitting next to Maddie at the top of the course. It was just like we were sitting there waiting for practice to happen, and it was just like a shot somebody snapped, and that was just a really surreal thing for me because, like I said, she's probably one of my favorite snowboarders of all time and someone I've looked up to my entire life. And then just being right next to her in an event with her, and obviously we're not on the same level, but like in an event of the same level, was probably the coolest moment of my life.
Yeah. You've talked about how there's different levels and stuff, and through me seeing the videos of you hitting the pipe and stuff, I can definitely see like how the progression is. You're starting to get up to that. You're making strides towards that. So let's talk about like what's it kind of been like. Have you seen that in yourself too? Like, because now I don't know where you're at as far as spins and stuff, but I can see that you keep going and you keep going. And um, what's it kind of been like, seeing that progression in yourself over the last couple of years?
It's been pretty cool. It's been a little bit of a struggle. I actually a couple years ago um ended up tearing my labrum in my shoulder and tore that and my biceps tendon, and I kind of left that for an entire year. Um just kind of convincing myself that the injury was going to get better on its own. It did not, and then I had to get surgery for that, and that was 2 years ago at this point, pretty much down to the day. It was sometime in September 2 years ago. And honestly, getting back from that injury was a lot more than I expected it to be. A lot on the mental side, just getting back into some of the tricks I was doing before that injury. So, in the past couple years, I wouldn't say my progression has been the best. Just trying to get back to where I was pre injury. But just the difference between my riding from when I first got into Rev Tours until now has definitely been really cool to see, and it's been a lot of work, but I'm starting to see it pay off, and hopefully it just keeps going up from here.
Yeah. What's your favorite trick in the pipe right now that you're throwing
Definitely,
down?
definitely front fives. It's just a classic, very floaty trick for me. I call it my best trick just because I could do that with my eyes closed, do it in my sleep. I don't want to jinx it, but I land it every single time I do it, and it's just such an easy and flowy movement for me. So that's definitely one of my favorites.
Nice, nice. And you were also we talked about Emma Hall, then you mentioned the Dirksen Derby. Are you competing in some other events like bank slaloms and stuff like that? Are you dabbling into that side of
Yeah,
the sport?
I have a little bit in the past. I've done Dirks and Derby 2 years, and I did Rat Race 1 year, and I definitely love doing events like that. And I hope to do more in the future. I'm definitely looking at going down to Bend this December and doing Dirks and Derby again.
Okay.
I don't do a lot of events like that, but they're definitely fun when I do because um, it gets me in a competition without having all of the crazy pressure and stress of it being an event that's really mattering towards my career.
Yeah. Yeah, and you've had last season you had a couple good results, didn't you? What was like your best result in the half pipe last season?
Ooh, this past season was a rough one for me. It was definitely
Okay.
my worst season competitively that I think I may have had ever. But the season prior to that, I was pretty consistently in Rev Tour finals, like top five and stuff like that.
Nice.
So those were some of my really good results and what earned me another invitation to Junior Worlds and all of that.
Cool. Awesome. And that's what's cool is like, we talked about like the bank slalom life and versus, your competition circuit. And so, I just wanted to say like, what's cool about the sport right now is like you can kind of do what you want to do, like as long as you like have the passion for it. Like you could go to brain bowl sessions and throw some stuff down, you could do all these things. um and that's kind of what I've started to like really get interested in as far as like doing this podcast and talking to all these athletes and people within the sport. And then also, I really want to get into filming and stuff and showcasing these people and putting edits together. So I think the passion is like rising and rising and rising. And there's all these like new awesome people that want like they may not necessarily like compete or anything, but they're gonna go out there with the camera and they're gonna try and get shots for these talented people and stuff. And that's what I wanted to say to you is like, you know, if it's like it gets to be too much at any point with the half pipe or something, just know like you got people that have your back, and we would like you donate time to go out there and get shots for you, and like make sure that like, you know, as far as like getting money for what you do and stuff and getting some sponsorships and everything. And that's another thing I want to talk to you. Are you currently like getting floated any stuff from any companies? I know that you rock Dragon goggles a lot. So let's talk about that and what your kind of experience has been with like getting sponsorships and things.
Yeah, so I kind of only have 2 sponsorships right now. I have Dragon and then Edge of the World Snowboard Shop to Snowboard Shop in Banner Elk, North Carolina. I've been with them since I was 7 years old, I believe. They've been really great support throughout all of this. And then Dragon, same thing. My rep is through that snowboard shop. And I'm looking at getting an agent here soon to kind of help me with sponsorships in the future. I had a lot more sponsorships in my younger years through like Hook It, which was this website that helped like little kids in sports getting sponsorships like that. And once that company kind of fizzled out, I ended up with just being left with the 2 that I have now, and yeah, hopefully getting an agent soon to see if I can work up any more sponsorship deals.
Yeah. Well, you have the connections, so hopefully you find somebody that is gonna, you know, make sure that they do a good job for you. And yeah, usually agents that represent snowboarders are super chill. So that's awesome to hear. Yeah. So yeah, cool. So let's talk a little bit about like what your plans are for this season. You know, we kind of talked about, you know, going to Europe here soon, hopefully, maybe getting to locks, and starting training and stuff. But what's kind of like the breakdown for this season? What are you going to be competing in, and what does it look like for the winter?
Yeah, so starting out, hopefully doing Dirks and Derby in December, and then pending invitations, hopefully I will be in Grand Prix again. There's one in December in Copper, and then there's another happening end of January, beginning of February in Aspen, I believe. So hopefully I get invited to those 2, and I'll be doing that this season. And then beyond that, Rev Tours, which we have one at Copper Mountain, one at Aspen Buttermilk, and one at Mammoth Mountain every season. I might be going out to Canada for some Calgary NORAM events.
Nice.
All of that's a little bit to be determined, but for sure I'll be in Rev Tours. And then, yeah, I think that's about it.
Yeah, cool. Well, if you're ever up here in this area, and you want a day to go ride or anything like that, hit me up and we'll go ride Schweitzer or something.
Yeah. I've never ridden that one before.
I think you'd like it. It's really is a massive mountain. It's almost 3,000 acres with a front side and a back side, and
wow,
it's like, and it's a really cool village. The vibes are really, really good. We actually have a pretty solid bank solemn up there now called the Snow Ghost. Yeah, that's hand dug. So we have a few up here, actually. We have a few really good bank solemns up here. And so that's kind of why I got stoked when you knew who the Hall sisters were in Emma Hall. So when you're down at Dirks and Derby this December, find her, and it'll be cool because you both have joined the podcast, and it's awesome to see like the young lady riders supporting each other and getting out there and doing all the events. And Emma also knows one of our Mountain Vibes riders, Kim out of Leavenworth, Washington, and her handle is Kim_Lee. So she's kind of a badass. She kind of does everything from powder to rails to, like, if you ever check her out on Instagram, definitely a good follow. She's a slayer. So, yeah, that's awesome. So yeah, we were talking about half pipe and like your go-to trick. What's like the trick you want to like get this season? Like, what are you working on right now as far as like the one you want to like when you lay that one down in your run, you're going to be stoked on?
There's definitely a few I'm trying to work on right now. Something I'm hoping to have in my run maybe this season, we'll see how it goes, that I was working on a bit this past season is a McTwist.
Okay.
Done them quite a bit in the past, but I've never put one into a full run before. It's mostly been one hitters where I'm doing them, or quarter pipes and stuff like that. But yeah, I did a lot of work on that this season, and they were coming together pretty well. So hopefully I could put something like that into my run, or maybe a crippler. I'm really wanting to have an invert in my run, because that's in Rev Tours, the level of events I'm in, that's not something frequently done by girls. So I definitely think it's something that would set me apart in my run if I can figure out how to put something like that in there.
Man, if that'd be sick if you had like both of them in your arsenal. Those is
I
like
would
two
love to.
you could like go back to back, or like at
Mhm.
least like one of each. That would be sick, because those are like two of my favorite tricks in the pipe. Like
Yeah.
when done well, they just look so
Mhm.
fucking sick. So that's sick, dude. And so we're kind of in the shoulder season right now. Hood season's over. Kind of waiting for the snow to fall. Colorado probably is like first on your list to probably go hit, whether it be Colorado or Mammoth as far as opening. But let's talk about, like you were saying, how your parents were like, we were eating the right food, working out. Like what's kind of like your routine for like you're training right now, I'm guessing, and you're hitting the gym.
Yeah.
What's like the morning routine like, and when are you working out, and what are you doing? We doing a lot of yoga? We doing body weight exercises? What's it looking like?
I would love to be able to tell you I had a specific routine that I lived by, but I'm kind of sporadic with it. I just try to make sure that my entire body as a whole is in shape and being strengthened at all times. I do a lot of weightlifting in the gym. Um, Anywhere from like 3 to 5 days a week. It really depends on what I have going on that week. But yeah, I do a lot of weightlifting in there, a lot of cardio. I focus on core a lot, try to do some stuff for agility. And then most recently, I've taken up a little bit of yoga and Pilates. While I was in Hawaii, actually, one of my surf instructors told me if I did yoga, then he'd be seeing me in the next Olympics, which is most likely not true, but I do think yoga's a pretty important practice. So I've been getting into those, and yeah, just really trying to make sure my entire body stays put together and ready for the season.
Not only for like your strength and balance and stuff in yoga, but also for the mind. um,
Yeah,
it
yeah, the
really
mind.
is like meditative.
Mhm.
And you mentioned Pilates. So were you how'd you kind of get introduced into that? Because when I lived back in Portland, I was an avid Pilates like class person. Like I was going a lot, and it wasn't called Pilates, because if the owner of the gym hears me call it Pilates, she's not going to be happy about that. It was called Legree Fitness, which is it's basically like Pilates on steroids. Um,
Oh.
it is like it's kind of like a larger machine, a little bit
Mhm.
wider, a little longer, more things to do and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, talk about how you kind of got into Pilates.
So I've not yet gotten into Pilates classes. I haven't really looked into if there's anywhere that does them near me. I'm sure there's some stuff in Portland, but
Yeah,
um I've been just doing some YouTube video Pilates right now, just
cool.
'cause I feel like Pilates has kind of been on a rising trend lately, and just wanted to get into it, see what it's all about. And it makes me feel out of shape when I do it, so I definitely feel like
Right.
it's something that I should keep going with, and hopefully I can find a class near me, because I really want to try out like the real Pilates with the machines and everything.
Well, I'll have to message my the gym owner that I used to work for. She used to run a gym called Firebrand, and they
Mhm.
had that Pilates class. They had a bar class. They also had like this crazy these cycling classes, where the actual cycling machines that they had, that you could like tilt them. You know what I mean?
Oh.
Like, so it was crazy. So it was a cycling bike, but you could like tilt over and lean, and so you had to like work obliques on each side and do all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But she recently actually closed that gym because it was right in the middle of the Pearl District during that time where the Pearl District businesses were getting hit really hard as far as vandalism and stuff. And she moved up to like Northwest 23rd, 21st area, and it's called Chroma Core. And so it's like a really cool class, really cool gym. So I'll get in contact with her
Okay.
and I'll be like, hey, I have a half pipe rider, big timer. Should float her a class so she can come down to Portland and try it out at some point.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Great. I definitely want to try out Pilates.
Yeah, yeah. It's something that a lot of people don't know, but Kobe Bryant, he sweared by it. That was like his secret
Really?
thing. Yeah, he was a big Pilates guy. He said he's like, it's basically going through torture.
Mm-hmm.
Would go in there. Yeah, it was like, and I was like, you're Kobe Bryant. Like, he's like, it's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, you know. And I'm like, you're an NBA champion. Like, I mean, come on. But yeah, it is a tough thing. It's literally probably why it was during a time in my life where I was trying to retransform my body. I hired a nutritionist and doing all this stuff, but it was literally the key to like me actually having like good balance and getting back into snowboarding. I felt in shape enough where I could get back on the mountain, and then it really translated because it's all core, legs, full body, just balance, slow movements. So
Yeah.
that's what we always need.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Another secret is for me is the Stairmaster. Stairmaster already
Love
all
the Stairmaster. Love it.
because
It's a love-hate relationship, actually.
Right. You're just like, okay, we're getting on this thing for at least a half an hour. This is gonna suck, but oh, it's gonna be good though. It's gonna make me feel good by the time the snow starts falling. So
Yeah.
sick. That's awesome. So yeah, talking about the season and stuff. So you got lots of things planned. Starting off with like Dirks and Derby, Colorado. Um, what's like the goal? You want? Is the goal like podium at least in one event this season?
Yeah, I'm definitely looking at Rev Tour podiums, maybe even like a World Cup final if I could manage it, which is a very tall feat, but it's something that I definitely want to do and I want to start working towards. So a lot of that, and then really the end goal for me this season is to get nominated to the rookie team.
Nice. That's awesome. Cool. Let's we're gonna run it into some hot takes, okay? And some rapid fire question, all right?
Okay.
Let me get them out here. Yeah. Here we go. Okay. So, Kaylie, are you earbuds in or out?
In.
Okay, what's like the band slash song that's like your go-to when you're dropping into the top of the pipe?
I forget what band it is, but the song is called Remember the Name.
Okay. Cool. I'll have to check that out. We're gonna find out about that one. So if you had to pick 3 favorite riders, male or female, that have had like the most influence in your snowboarding career, who would they be?
Maddie Mastro, Toby Miller, and oh, I don't know what the third one would be. Maybe Sean White.
Okay, that's a good answer.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is like that's like a hot that is a hot take because a lot of people they do not. I don't know why. Like maybe he's rubbed them wrong in the past, but I feel like I like Sean White. I've always liked Sean.
I've always had the greatest experiences with him. Every time I've been around him, he's really cool, really chill, really nice to me. So I don't have anything bad to say about him.
I never have. I think it became evident through him talking on the bomb hole and like kind of how he has been perceived, and it's misguided. I think the hate for him, because when you're at that level and your goal is to win everything, like it's like a Jordan effect or a Kobe effect. Like you're not going to be the nicest to everybody because you want to beat them. So that's for sure. So Kaylie, if you had to pick the perfect day of riding, what would it look like? Where would you be, and who would you be riding with?
Perfect day of riding, Mammoth Mountain, the half pipe, and honestly would be riding alone. I do best and I like best when I have my alone time to ride and just tune into my music and really zone into the half pipe and let it just, my whole world just kind of be me in the half pipe.
Spring pipe?
Honestly, right around like February, the
Okay.
Mammoth Pipe is my favorite because there are some days where it's kind of like a spring day, but the snow is still holding up really well. So it's warm out, but the pipe still holds its shape and all of that. So right around in there.
I'm guessing sunny Bluebird Day is what we want.
Yeah, Sunny
Yep.
Bluebird is my favorite, but I'll also
No
take
wind.
Powder Day if
Okay.
that's what's coming.
Right. Okay. So far in your snowboarding career, what's been your greatest experience and what's been your worst experience?
Ooh, greatest experience, I think either my trip to Junior Worlds in Switzerland a couple years back, just because that was my first time being able to say I was representing the United States in an event, especially one of that caliber, and it was my first trip out to Europe ever. And all of that was just a really surreal and incredible experience. Or this year at Grand Prix, but actually, no, I'd probably say best experience was that Junior Worlds trip, and then worst experience. This is kind of going to be a hot take, but the year that I was 13 at USASA Nationals was probably just my worst week of snowboarding ever. Nationals is always a very, very, very stressful environment for me personally. I know it is for some other kids, and then some of them just find it to be the best thing ever. Nationals was always a hard week for me, a lot of pressure and just a lot going on. It's kind of go, go, go the whole time. And that year just was when I was kind of wanting to make the transition into half pipe from slopestyle. So I was at like a weird teetering point of my career, and it was my first trip with Chris Hargrave being my coach, and that whole week was just full of like mental breakdowns, like crying every single day, having a really hard time putting anything together, and just a lot of stress, and
Yeah.
not a week I would want to go back to.
I hear you. I hear you. Um, okay. What's the worst trend in snowboarding?
Oh, worst trends. Mm. Oh, that's a hard one.
We'll see. I mean, I could say the thing that I hate the most is like the backpack speakers.
Oh God, yeah,
I just can't do it.
um step on bindings.
Yes.
I had the owner of the shop that I ride for in North Carolina tried to convince me to ride them a few years back, and he swears by them. I've heard a lot of people swear by them. I personally have never used them, but I do not trust the idea of them.
Right. Right. I can see how for like it's very user friendly for those people that are getting into the sport, makes it easier for
Yeah.
them. They're not torquing their board like you are. Like I would
Mm-hmm.
never get in step hand bindings if I'm at your level and about to drop into a pipe, like especially like I mean, come on. I need to
No, I
be able
feel
to
like it would fly off of me the second I left the
right,
ground.
right. And so speaking of bindings, like what bindings are we rocking right now? Like what's the setup right now? What board are you riding and what's the angles and what bindings do you have?
Board, Burton Talent Scout, as always. I've been rocking that one for a long time now, probably since before I even got into Rev Tours and stuff like that. Love Burton Talent Scouts. Bindings Union Trilogies. My absolute favorite. They're
Nice.
like the perfect mix of being stiff, but also not too stiff and very responsive and really, really good. Let's see, stance. I should know the width of my stance because every year for Grand Prix they have you fill that out in a form, but I don't know the width of my stance currently. I know I have 15-15 or 15-15.
Yep.
Just the traditional basic
Classic.
one seems to work the best for me. I honestly haven't really ventured out to try much else. It's just my tried and true. I stay with that. Yeah, that's the
Don't
board.
fix it if it isn't broke, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't want to mess around with it if it seems to be working.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, a little rapid fire. Are we going pants or bibs?
Pants.
Goggles or glasses?
Definitely goggles.
Power slush?
What?
Pow or slush?
Oh, pow or slush. I thought you said power slush.
No.
Okay, definitely pow.
Okay. This is gonna be tough, and I don't mind if you add another person, but
Okay.
if you could pick one person to go on a backcountry heli trip with, where would you go, and who's the person that's going to be with you? And I understand if you have to pick two.
Okay. Yeah, I'd pick both my parents. I just feel like they deserve to experience something like that with all they've put into my snowboarding. And especially I think my dad would love that whole thing.
And where was
Oh, and
what's
where?
so it's like, Japan, Baldface,
Definitely,
Alaska,
yeah.
like
I think I'd go for Japan. I've never had the opportunity to go to Japan. Don't know if I will get to because that's not somewhere half pipe events are typically held, but I would definitely want to go there. I've heard a lot of good reviews on the POW there.
we gotta make it happen. Gotta make it happen, man.
Gotta. At
Soul,
some
right?
point. Yeah.
Maybe there's a little break this season where you can nab a flight and get out there. That'd be super cool.
Yeah, it would.
Excellent. And that's it for rapid fire. But I would also, since we didn't get to have Chris on today, let's talk a little bit. Give me some of like your best experiences working with Chris, because we all know he's a badass. He's the man, and maybe a couple funny stories that only you and him would know.
Okay. Well, obviously just starting off, amazing coach, my favorite coach to this day. I call him the Mr. Miyagi of snowboarding because his approach is very much so like Mr. Miyagi. He'll take you off of the terrain that let's say you tell him you want to learn a trick in the pipe. He's going to take you out of the pipe, teach you a bunch of different random drills that make no sense, and then you're going to come back to the pipe and he's going to be like, all right, so just put these together and go try your trick, and then you land it. And it's absolutely insane. I still to this day don't fully understand how he does it, but I love it, and we have a very technical relationship. I like to hear all of the like sciencey pieces that go into what I'm doing, so I really understand everything, and he's great about that. We work really well together in that sense. Then stories that only him and I would know. Let's see. Well, there was one season that right before the comp season was about to start, him and I and my mom all traveled out to Colorado together, and we stayed at a place together, stayed out there for like a week just to train, get my feet under me before the season went underway. And he was doing these like snowboard TED Talk type things at that time over Zoom meetings with a bunch of different instructors and snowboarders. And he had me come on as like a guest for one of them. And I don't know, that night was just so fun because we had this whole setup on the table in our condo where we had like put like books and stuff to stack up our computers to be at like the perfect heights, and then we're like sitting on like separate ends of the table, making it seem like we're not in the same room. And then he pulls up like videos of me from the day. I didn't know he was going to do this. He pulls up videos of me from that day for everyone to overanalyze. And I'm just sitting over here like, oh, okay. And like there's just these videos of me on the screen with everybody. And that, I don't know, that was just a whole weird experience and fun night with us. Getting to see everyone really pull apart my riding, and it was a good learning experience for me, seeing like different perspectives on what was going on with my riding at the time. Yeah.
Heck yeah. Very cool. All right. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up on that. So if there's anybody you want to shout out or say thanks or anything like that, let's do that, and then we'll close out.
Yeah. Definitely shout out to my parents, obviously. They're amazing, done a lot for me in this sport. Shout out to Chris Hargrave, amazing coach. Thank you to him for everything he's been doing for me these past few years. Shout out to my snowboard shop, Edge of the World. If anybody's ever in Banner Elk, go check them out. They're amazing. And then shout out to you for holding this podcast, having me on it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you again, Kaylie. Thank you for the time. Appreciate it, and all good things coming up this season. Hopefully you fucking slay the pipe this year, get some good results, and maybe we can get out, maybe go shred. Maybe your parents will be here too. It'd be great to see them again. And I just want to say thank you one more time. And that will be it for this episode of Let's Talk Snowboarding. And we will catch all you guys on the next one. Peace.
We'll be right back.